Afternoon, everyone. It's good to see that we're starting on time. Mike has the whole year kept us behind usually on Tuesday. So it's my pleasure to announce that DHL Stormers to face the Toyota Cheetahs in Bloemfontein for this weekend. Starting at the back, SP Marais, Cheslin Colby, Joan de Jong, Sean Trevey, Dylan Lades, Vice Captain, Damien Willemse, Janu Vermaak, Nazam Carr, Kobus van Dijk, Reynard Alstead, Peter Septertoy, Chris van Zyl, Frans Malherbe, Captain, Ramon Samuels, JC Janssen van Rensburg. On the replacements bench is Bongi Umbanambi, Stephen Kitsoff, Wilco Lowe, JD Schikkeling, Sukumbuza, Noche, Justin Phillips, Evia Fulun, and Siabella Sonatla. Yes, obviously, Damien, a young kid in our system who's done, phenomenally well over the past 12 months. It's quite freakish to think that he was playing schoolboy rugby last year, but, certainly had a very good pre-season for us. We've been, grooming him for an opportunity this year. Obviously played well for S under 20s as well. So, going in the back end of the competition, we feel this is the perfect opportunity for us to have a look at him in a starting position, and certainly excited to see how he goes.
It must have made it much easier for you having very experienced guys on both sides.
Well, exactly. So it's having Janu Vermaak, on his inside, and then both Trevey. I think he's got 50 Super Rugby caps, and Jean de Jong's close. What is he, 95 or 96? So it certainly does make a difference, Also with SP Marais at the back, with his left boot and his decisions, So certainly those guys, it's their role to take the pressure off Damien. I think, if Damien is given that green light to play his natural game, I think he could be quite dangerous for us, But certainly those guys have a big role to play in order to free him up.
Given your fly-off situation with injuries, is this like an audition for the playoffs for him?
Well, we want to have a look at him, Craig. I mean, it's important. He has come off the bench, for us, and he has played in the pre-season. But, we've sort of, as I said, we've groomed him in other positions. We've played him a little bit at fullback and a little bit at fly-off. So, he played a bit of, at 12, obviously, for S under 20s. But, yes, we need to have a look at our options. Certainly going forward. Kurt played in the last game against the Sharks. We know what we've got in Tommy. Obviously, Rob and Jael are out. So, we've had a go with Dylan, against the Blues, and we were quite satisfied with his performance there. So it is allowing him an opportunity, but also us an opportunity to see what we can, go into the latter part of the competition with.
Rob, sorry, Robbie. Okay, Karen.
In terms of resting Sia and Eben, that's probably just the fact that you've got 6 games left. I mean, if you go all the way to the final, you don't want to rest them in the playoffs. I guess you have to.
No, certainly not. But they've obviously come off a tough series, and they've played every single minute for the Springboks. Obviously, France was part of that as well, but France got rested last weekend. Dylan didn't, he didn't play, every minute in that series either. Neither did Bongi. So. For us, it made sense to give both Sia and Evan a rest this weekend, and we look forward to welcoming them back into the makeup for next.
The Sharks are doing something similar. Has there been a directive, or is it that you
are decision? No directive whatsoever from Alistair. My understanding from Alistair is that he obviously wants his Springboks to play. He's keen on the guys competing for positions, and my understanding from the message from his side is that that you, as a Springbok, you can play yourself out of the Springbok team if you don't perform well for your franchise, which I think is an excellent message, to the Springboks, so that they've got to play well for us in order for them to qualify for the Plus U. So I think that's a great message from the Springbok coach.
Frans, just from a player's point of view, coming back from a Lekker Gene series and a good win, how's that sort of feel-good factor permeated down to the Stormers?
No, I think there's definitely had an influence. The guys that stayed here had a nice rest, and they had good 2 weeks of training, hard training. The guys are fresh, and I think the SAA guys also had a good time. They had, I think, a week off, and then training, and they were successful in their matches against the Barbarians. And then obviously us, the few of us that was part of the Springbok setup, we won the series, and we're very positive coming back. I actually heard someone mention to me, and compared to last year, when we came back from the incoming series against the Irish, there's such a big difference in the energy the guys came back with. And I think what's nice and what helps the environment is that, as I said now, everyone, if it's Springboks, SAA, and the guys that stayed, with Province or Stormers, they had a good time and they are refreshed and excited.
Rob, see, Evier's covering, is he covering centre or is he covering wing and centre? I know Sabella's there.
Well, both actually, because, obviously we would like to look at him, that he can cover both those positions. But so first and foremost, it's in that centre position. But he is an option for us going forward as a winger as well.
Because Cheetahs game is a tricky one in some ways, Rob, because how much is there to be gained as opposed to there's quite a lot to be lost in terms of possible injuries, a bit of confidence being knocked if it doesn't go well, that kind of thing.
Well, Craig, there's a lot from our side, to be honest. I mean, obviously we don't want to think about the negative side of confidence or being knocked, or if we don't play well or if there's injuries. We certainly can't think like that. We've got to get back and play extremely well, and we're looking forward to it. We're excited. It's the first time we're back as a group. We've got to get those combinations working again. We've got to get that synergy going again. We've got to try certain things as well. Going into this latter part of the comp, and we certainly are excited. So we've got a lot to gain. By going in the next 3 games, and certainly it starts with the Cheetahs. They're a tough team to play, as always, up in Bloem. There are not many teams that put them away there. And, in the past couple of seasons, I think we've won 1 game, which was last year. And, certainly they're going to play with a lot of freedom. There's no pressure on them, which makes them, that much more dangerous, because then they just play their natural attacking game. And, there's not much that can go wrong for them. So, but certainly from our side, it's all about us, and we just want to get out there and play our natural game as well, and not be affected by any pressures of winning or losing, or thinking of injuries, or thinking about quarterfinals or anything like that. It certainly is. It's a great opportunity for us to get out there and play some good rugby, which we need to do. Obviously, because we had a disappointing last kid out against the Sharks.
Rick, is there element in the team that you chose in terms of protecting some players, some key players? Bongi on the bench, and Liverpool unit played all the games for you?
No, Steve, it's more so just giving guys opportunities. I think that, you think about it, last year, going into, the playoffs, some guys didn't have enough opportunity during the season. Certainly Ramon hasn't had a start for us yet, and, he deserves that opportunity to start now. We've got to, give, guys opportunities to stake a claim as well going into that, into those playoffs. So, it's not a case of resting players. We can't think about injuries, Steve, to be honest. Everyone's got to go out there, flat out and give it their best shot. And if injuries come along the way, that's it. We certainly aren't going to be looking to be resting players going forward. That's one thing for sure.
Rob, it is his natural position, but he hasn't played there for, I'm talking about Damien now, again, just going back to Damien.
Yes.
But he hasn't played there for a while that I can recall, because he played, I think, the entire junior championships at 12.
Yeah.
Does that require an adjustment for him to? Because I can't remember when last he did play 10.
Oh, I think he played a little bit. I think in their final game, I think when they played in the third, fourth playoff, I think he had a couple of minutes there. But look, you're right. He hasn't played a lot there. But in modern day game, 10s, 12s, they play a similar sort of role. So there is, he's for us. It's about him taking an opportunity to really control the game for us, and take those opportunities that come his way. He's an exciting player, and he certainly does add something different, to our attack, which we're pretty excited about. So, look, he's a good kid. He works hard on his game. It's not gonna, if he makes mistakes, that's okay. We'd rather have him playing with a bit of freedom than worried about, mistakes and not getting it right all the time. So. He's got good character in him, so we certainly are excited to see how he goes.
Defensively, is he? He had a few moments at the junior champs that maybe he wouldn't like to see again. How's that?
Again, defence is not just can't just be a one-off, one person thing. So I'm certainly happy with his defence. He's certainly is committed. He's a physical kid, so. And like we mentioned earlier on, he's got good experience around him, both in the loose trio and and in terms of the halfbacks and centres, so he should be okay.
But yeah, do you see the future in terms of the Stormers for Ron Augustus?
Yeah.
Was he a consideration
He was.
to bring into the squad?
He certainly was, Steve. I mean, you don't, get World Rugby Player under 20 of the year and don't get considered for selection back at your home union. So he joined us this week. Again, another player who was pretty impressive in our pre-season in the games that he played for us, and he certainly was considered for selection, and he could be considered again next week, and he deserves an opportunity. Fortunately enough, he's going to be playing for Dobbo this weekend in a quarter-final, so he is going to get an opportunity. But he certainly is a player that we're looking forward to, in the future. And he's a type of player that probably would complement the loose trio that we've got, where he's a good ball carrying loose forward. He's hard on the ball. Good hits on defence. So it's somebody that we certainly can consider going down the line.
As jy bekommerd oor enigstens bekommerd oor die gebrek aan moontlike leierskap, veral as jy ook nog gesê het, is belangrik julle die laaste paar wedstryde moet probeer wen natuurlik.
Nee, het is nie vir my 'n bekommernis soos jy nou sê nie. Ons het die hele week almal saamgewerk, die ouens wat gerus word, gereelde kaptein Sia en Eben wat ook baie van die verantwoordelikhede dra. Het nog steeds baie bygedra in die week, en om eerlik vir te sê, ek is heeltemal gemaklik om Saterdag in te gaan. Daar is sekere ouens in die span, huidige span wat speel Saterdag, wat ook verantwoordelikheid vat vir leierskap en wat natuurlike leiers is, wat verstaan. So daar's glad nie 'n tekort, en ek voel nie dat dit net ek is nie. As dit jou vraag beantwoord, ek is redelik gemaklik, ja.
Jy met dieselfde momentum kan speel, gaan nou met julle 'n maand weg van internasionaal rugby gaan jy met dieselfde momentum hê in die volgende 3.
Kyk, ek dink dis die belangrike deel van die eerste wedstryde nou na die breek, is hoe vinnig jy jou momentum weer kan kry. Ek dink ons het bietjie, om eerlik te wees, momentum verloor teen die Sharks en voor die breek, so die breek het ons eintlik baie beter gepas as wat dit 'n span gepas het met goeie momentum voor dit. Soos ek vroeër geantwoord het, dink ek, jy weet, met die opgewondenheid wat almal na die span toe bring, is ek redelik seker en vol lof, of nie vol lof nie, is ek redelik oortuig en jy weet, positief vir die feit dat ons vinnig ons momentum sal kry en weer saam as 'n span speel.
As span soos die Cheetahs wat op die tuis wil gaan speel, hulle gaan ook desperaat is om punte te bewys teen julle natuurlijk.
Nee, verseker, soos coach vroeër gesê het, ek dink ons was baie suksesvol in die laaste 3-4 jaar in Bloem nie. Maar ja, ons fokus is meer op onsself, en ons fokus is, soos hy ook gesê het, is nie op die negatiewe en wat kan verkeerd gaan nie. Ons moet fokus op onsself en hoe ons wil speel en die goed wat ons wil regkry.
So was jy quarter van 'n match toe, dit ook wat is super sport chance.
Yes.
That team will be named later today, hopefully.
Sorry, so you got a heads up that's on the selection there, inside information. So we can do a little bit of trading there.
Frans, just a guy like Fox and Chi, come up against him. I mean, we know what he's like in the loose. I don't know if you've scrummed against him.
Yeah.
What's that aspect of his game like?
No, I think it's also very strong. I have respect to, I respect of him as a player in general as well. He's a good scrummager. I think there's a lot of credit has to go to the Cheetah scrum, and you have to respect that as well. So, you can't single out an individual in a scrum, in my opinion. I think the Cheetahs have a very good scrum, to be honest, and I think he'll be very comfortable to slot in there.
Coach, just a general question. I was looking at some of these balls there. What does it mean to you as a coach, as coach of the Stormers now, seeing that a lot of your players have deserved and earned some caps now, whether it's Springboks or SA side? What does that mean for the dynamics in your squad now, dealing with the training competition?
No, Percy, it's great. I think, when obviously the squad was announced before the break or before the series against France, we were pretty excited and felt pretty chuffed as a management, that a number of guys got selected for both SAA and for the Springboks and for S under 20s, because a lot of those guys who made the S under 20 squad were part of our pre-season plans and work there. So. There's a bit of satisfaction there, and within the squad, it's all the hard work that the players did over the pre-season and how well they played in those first sort of 6-7 weeks of the competition that they got recognised. So it boils down to hard work and collective buy-in from both management and players in terms of where we want to go. And we achieved a lot of our goals early on in the season. Obviously, we were a bit disappointed in the latter part, but still the Springboks recognised the good work that had been done. And those players rewarded the Springbok selections as well. I think for the Stormers players who played for Alistair and his team, I thought they were stand-up players in that series. And the stuff that we had worked hard on, in the pre-season, like our skill work, it was pretty evident to see certain players like Sia and Evan coming through with their skills, and it's something that hasn't really naturally been part of their makeup as players. So, we've been pretty satisfied, as a group of coaches to see the recognition there, and we're going to continue. We've got a couple of more weeks left, and we're going to do whatever it takes to do well in this competition and to help these players. And the better we do as a team, then that the individuals will get recognised. And I think that's something that we have slowly started to sort out within the group. That the group understands if the Stormers do well, then the certain players will get the accolades.
And when I look of not performing at your franchise, you could possibly support the Springboks. Is that something that comes from the top, or do you guys really decide that?
No, that comes from the top, and I'm grateful that it comes from the top, because it's a clear indication from Alistair and his group, what they want from the players, and that's certainly, I don't think that's negative pressure. I think that's positive pressure put on players, and that certainly helps the franchises, because like we spoke about earlier on, or Frans spoke about, there's a lot of good energy in the camp, and especially that was brought back by both the SAA players and the Springboks. And, it's certainly lifted the spirits of the squad and the energy and the training. So, there's obviously something's happening at Springbok level, something good, certainly culturally, and that's going to have an impact on us, on all the franchises, which is a positive. And hopefully now the franchises can respond in a positive way and play some good rugby going into, the end of the competition.
Rob, when you sort of look at your bench, it's a pretty strong bench. When
Yep.
you consider Evan and Sia aren't even considered.
Yep.
You must be fairly satisfied at this stage of the season that you've built some depth.
Absolutely, Craig. And that was the challenge, early on, and certainly when we were on tour, when we had a few injuries, and we had to expose some youngsters in New Zealand, earlier than what we would have liked. But we were always positive about the fact that we were giving youngsters good game time against quality opposition. And now, we're coming to this back end now, we're getting all our, players back, whether that's from Springbok duty or from injuries. There's a good, healthy list coming back next week, with the likes of, Dalenda and Kebbel and Vermaak and Hugh Jones even. So, those are guys that are certainly working hard to be up for selection for Sunwolves and Bulls. And if they don't make it with us, hopefully, Dobbo and his team make it through to the semi-finals so they can get an opportunity there. So the squad is slowly coming together and is looking pretty healthy, especially depth-wise. And it was always a challenge when we had those big injuries early doors, but, come to the back end of the season now, it's actually worked in our favour that all these youngsters have had good quality exposure at Super Rugby level, and they should be, pretty well prepped, for the last 3 games.